Okay, morning everybody.
Morning.
We're back to Sanhedrin. We spoke last time and finished last time talking about horses, wives, and money, all around the idea of the king, the Parashat HaMelech, the parasha of the king, which you all should know really well by now because we've been talking about this for months, but we've not yet finished because we remember, don't we, from the parasha? I'll show it you in a second. In fact, I'll just get it ready and then I can just show it you straight away. There it is. I will show it you in a moment. But we all know, don't we? What is a Jewish king not allowed to have?
Too many horses.
Too
Too
much
many
money.
horses,
Money.
too much money,
Too many wives.
too many wives. Right. Okay. I think we've done that, really, haven't we? I think we've done it to death. So the Gemarah is going to move on now to the next bit of the Parashat HaMelech, which tells us what the king does have to do. Without me putting it on the screen, who can remember what the Parashat HaMelech in Parashat Shoftim goes on to say after it tells us what he can't do?
Right.
About
A
writing
Sefer
the
Torah.
Torah.
Okay, say that again, one of you at a time.
Right. A
Julia.
Sefer Torah. Sorry.
Okay, Jackie says write a Sefer Torah. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Two.
Julia, ever the meduyak or meduyeket, I suppose, to be feminine about it, is correct. He has to write two Sifrei Torah, and that is what we're going to learn about today. Let's get the parsha on the screen, and Jeffrey can read it for us.
So it's written.
Johnny, I didn't hear that. You're breaking up. Johnny, try again.
I said that if it had written the two Sefer Torahs, he would have known about the wives, the money, and the horses.
Indeed. Well, yeah, I think he did know about it. He just thought that he was cleverer than he thought he was. I was talking like this to somebody
We'll learn about it. Secondly, where does it come in the story? In the parasha, where does it come about?
About what?
Does the Sefer Torah come after we've been learning that?
Yeah, immediately
Is there a
after.
parsha?
Yeah, have a look on the screen. It's on the screen for you now. Just to finish that little section there that you were talking about, Johnny. I'm sure that Shlomo Melech did know that, and I was actually talking to somebody about a different person, not Shlomo Melech, but I said about this particular person. He's extremely clever, which he is, but he's not quite as clever as he thinks he is. Right? He is extremely clever, but not quite as clever as he thinks he is. And that was Shlomo Melech. Shlomo Melech was very wise. And he thought he was so wise that he could not have his head turned by all the women and the money and everything else. And we know, we've, as you say, we've done it to death. We know that he was turned away from Hashem by those folk. And therefore, he wasn't as clever as he thought he was. So now we're on to Parashat HaMelech, the end bit now, on the screen for you. Jeffrey, if you would read it, verses 18, 19, and 20, please.
And it will be when he sits upon his royal throne that he shall write for himself two copies of this Torah on a scroll from that Torah which is before the Levitic Kohanim. And it shall be with him, and he shall read it all the days of his life, so that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this Torah and these statutes, to perform them, so that his heart will not be haughty over his brothers, and so that he will not turn away from the commandment either to the right or to the left, in order that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his sons among Israel.
Okay, so that's pretty clear, isn't it?
Yes.
He's got to write two Sifrei Torah. We'll look at the Hebrew in a sec. and he has to read it all the days of his life. What does that mean, do you think?
Didn't have time to read it.
Well, it means, I mean, does it really mean he has to read the whole Torah all of his life? Wouldn't have time
No.
to do anything else, would he?
No,
I
bits
think
of
what
it.
it means is, yeah, maybe bits of it, like we do. We lane parts of it each week. It has to be with him the whole time. He has to know it, and he has to have it with him, so that he may learn to fear the Lord your God, or his God, and he will not become haughty over his brothers, and he won't turn away from the commandments either to the right or to the left. What does that mean? Either to the right or to the left. He will not turn away from his commandments to the right or the left.
In Lachodadi, we had Yamin Small.
Yamin or small tifrot, so we should spread out right and left. Okay, this is the opposite. Don't turn left or right from the commandments.
You should go on the straight and narrow.
Keep to the straight path, yes.
Don't be lenient or don't be too strict.
Okay, so I like that. Avril says, don't be too lenient. I guess that would be the left, would it, Avril? And don't be too strict. That would be the right. This is the Rambam. This is the Rambam's Perush. The Rambam describes a Moreh Nevuchim in the Guide for the Perplexed. He describes something which I quote very often. It's called the Shvil HaZahav. What does that mean?
The golden path.
The golden path. The golden path, Shvil HaZahav, means a centrist approach. Okay? He says, in everything except for Yirat Shamayim, you should be a Beinoni, a middle guy. Take the middle road.
Moderation in all things.
Yes, moderation in all things except for the fear of God. Now, that's become unpopular because I remember being told as a youngster when we spoke about middle of the road Jewry, right? I mean, Anglo Jewry. We're all Anglos here apart from Sharon, but I think Sharon will understand where we're coming from. Anglo Jewry was always described, the United Synagogue type of Jew was always described as middle of the road. Yeah, you've all heard that expression, middle of the road Jew, yeah? I've been called that many a time. I've been called lots of things, a lot worse than that and all. But middle of the road. Now, I remember being told as a kid by my teachers, you know what happens when you walk in the middle of the road, don't you?
Get knocked over.
You get run over. Yeah. So this was, and this, of course, is a reflection of the education system that we all went through, because the education system that we all went through was taught by extremists who didn't want you to be in the middle of the road. They wanted you to come to their side of the road. So if you walk in the middle of the road, you get run over. But actually, that's what the Rambam says you should do. The Rambam says you should not be an extremist. Rambam says you should keep to the Shvil HaZahav, the golden path in the middle of the road. So that was just an aside, really. What this is, the next piece of Gemarah that we're going to talk about is really about verse 18. So since I just digressed there, let's just read 18 again and get back on track.
And it will be when he sits upon his royal throne that he shall write for himself 2 copies of this Torah on a scroll from that Torah which is before the Levitic Kohanim. Okay,
so we need to know what this is talking about. Why does it need to tell us? Well, let's look at the Hebrew. V'haya, and it will be keshivto al kisei mamlachto, when he sits on his royal throne. V'chatav lo. Now, that's the important word that the Gemarah is going to come to in a minute. He shall write lo. What does lo mean? With a vav?
For himself, to him.
For himself, to him. That's right. Remember, we had it over here. Lo yarbe lo susim. He should not increase for himself horses. Remember, no show ponies. The women also, we had that as well. Where's the women? Yeah, v'lo yarbe lo nashim. He shouldn't have too many wives for himself. So here, this is the flip side. V'katav lo, and he shall write for himself. The Gemarah is going to speak about this word in a minute. And what should he write for himself? Mishneh ha-Torah. And we translated that as copies of this Torah. Anybody got an Art Scroll Chumash handy?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. Who's got a Steinsaltz Chumash handy? I have. I'll get a Steinsaltz Chumash. And have you got your living Torah there, Michael?
Yep.
Okay. Devarim, chapter 17, verse 18. Let's see how everybody translates the word Mishneh HaTorah. I'll tell you what the Steinsaltz says, first of all. Steinsaltz says, it shall be upon his sitting on the throne of his kingdom, he shall write for himself a copy of this Torah in a scroll, that which is before the priests and the Levites. So he says a copy. And then there's a footnote, which I'll need my other glasses for because I can't read it with these. Hang on. The footnote says, don't know what it says because it's not in the right place. It doesn't matter. We'll go back to it another time. Right.
What are you referring to,
Steinsaltz,
Johnny? Sorry.
I'm referring to verse 18 of chapter 17 in Devarim, which is where we're at. And I'm particularly interested in how this is translated. The Chabad translates two copies. Steinsaltz says a copy. What have you got, Michael?
I know. I've got the Living Nuff, not the Living Torah.
Oh, you haven't got the Living Torah. Okay. What does our Art Scroll tell us? Devarim 17, verse 18.
I'm sorry. It's taking me a while to find it. I'm sorry.
All right.
It shall be when he sits on the throne of his kingdom, he shall write for himself 2 copies of this Torah in a book from before the Kohanim, the Levites.
Okay, so thank you, Jackie. So Steinsaltz is the only one that doesn't say 2 copies. Okay. Now, why do they say 2 copies? Mishneh HaTorah. That word on the screen for you there, Mishneh. What is the root of that? Shnei, 2. Yes, 2. Now, what is a Mishneh? What is a Mishnah?
It's a book of
story. A story?
No, it's not a story.
Book of learning.
Ah, it's a book of learning. Very good, Johnny. And how do you learn something?
Reading it.
Go over it and over it.
From a teacher.
You go out. Exactly. No, you don't learn from a teacher, Jackie. You don't learn anything from teachers. You learn from what Johnny says. Johnny's quite right. You learn something by going over and over and over it again, right? When you had to learn for whatever you had to learn for, your times tables or your driving test or your qualification as a whatever it is, what did you have to do? You had to study. You had to go over and over and over until it went into your head. And that is why the Mishnah is called the Mishnah, because you're meant to learn it over and over again. So Mishnah means to repeat. Okay. What is the name that we give to the book known as Deuteronomy?
Devarim.
Devarim, correct. Now, what do Chazal call Devarim? They don't call it Sefer Devarim.
Mishnah.
The Greek, yes, go on. Mishnah what? Mishnah Torah. Correct.
Which
Chazal
is what Rambam as well. Rambam wrote the Mishnah Torah.
correct. And again, so what is it? It's a repetition. Mishnah is a repetition. Let's just talk about Devarim for a sec. Devarim is called Mishnah Torah because what is Devarim? It's Moshe Rabbeinu repeating and actually adding a few extra bits and all, but basically repeating all of the mitzvot in the Torah, right? And that is why the Chazal call it Mishneh Torah, the repetition of the Torah. Now, it's very confusing, I know, Julia, that the Rambam Sefer is called Mishneh Torah as but that's because he goes through all the halachas. And he's teaching us the Torah. So here we've got this word, Mishneh HaTorah. And the Art Scroll and the Chabad translates it as 2 copies. Why do you think they translate it as 2 copies as opposed to Steinsaltz, who says a copy?
Because if you repeat it, you've got to repeat it at least once. So that means that there's at least 2 copies.
Okay. V'chatav lo et Mishneh HaTorah. I'll tell you the real answer, Michael. That's quite a clever answer, but I'll tell you the real answer. The real answer is because they have learnt this Gemarah. Right? Because the translators of that, the Art Scroll folk and the Chabad folk, and I'm sure Rav Steinsaltz as well, have learnt the Gemarah that we're about to learn. Because this Gemarah is going to tell us, is going to discuss about the writing of the Torah. It's discussing this pasuk that we've just said, that he has to write himself. We're going to just say for the moment, he has to write for himself Mishneh Torah. Okay, that's what it says in the pasuk. Let's see what the Gemarah has got to say about it. Yes, Julia.
It says Mishneh HaTorah.
Yes, because the Hey, which is the Hey Hayidiyah, the I don't know how you say that in English. Something article. Come on, definite article, definite. Right? The definite article. Yeah, I definitely knew that. So it's not Ha Mishnah Torah, it's Mishneh HaTorah. If you want to say I am going to the shul, you don't say Ani holech. All right, no, you wouldn't say it either way. You would say Ani holech lebet hakneset. The Hey goes on the second bit, okay? So it's Mishneh HaTorah. In English, we would say Ha Mishnah Torah, the Mishnah Torah, okay? So we're going to just leave it at Mishnah Torah for the moment and see where we go on this journey in the Gemarah. And we're on page 126, right at the bottom, 21A to 21B towards, 21A, I beg your pardon, towards the bottom. No, 21B, I'm right. 21B towards the bottom. And we're at our little symbol here that tells us we're at a new section. So the
teachers to write a Torah scroll.
That's what Steinsaltz says, a copy of the Torah. We're going to learn the Gemarah now, and we're going to see what's what. So the Gemarah says, he quotes our pasuk that we just read out, V'kotev Sefer Torah Lishmo. Okay? He writes a Mishnah Torah, he writes a Torah for himself. Now, that is not what the pasuk said, is it?
Same Mishnah.
What did the pasuk say? Can you remember without me putting it back on the screen?
It said Mishnah.
It did.
It doesn't say that here.
No, correct, because it's not quoting the pasuk. The pasuk is there, right? V'katav lo et Mishneh HaTorah. So, what is the Gemarah quoting here? What does the Gemarah do? What is the Gemarah? It's a commentary on the
Mishnah.
So it's quoting the Mishnah. We need to go all the way back up to the Mishnah. There we go. There's the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, Lo yarba lo susim, blah, 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 blah. And then it said, over here, V'kotev lo Sefer Torah lishmo. Remember that? Well, it's months ago, isn't it, since we learned that. But that is what it says in the Mishnah. Translated as, and the king writes himself a Torah scroll for his sake. Okay, v'kosav kotev lo Sefer Torah lishmo. So the Gemarah is quoting the Mishnah, and this is pure Gemarah now. The Gemarah says, this is what the Mishnah says. I don't understand. It's not clear enough. What does it mean? That's what the Gemarah is trying to tell us now. This Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi put together is not clear enough for the Gemarah. There's ambiguity here, and we don't like ambiguity. We like clear instructions. So, Tana.
If you go back to the Mishnah, Johnny, the page where the Mishnah was, on the right, Rabbi Steinsal's, he should write, it's the mitzvah of the king to write an additional Torah scroll beyond the one that he wrote or inherited before. Does that help?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to learn now. That's the Gemarah.
Okay, right.
So that note there, what Rav Steinsaltz has done, has summarized the Gemarah that we're going to learn and stuck it in a note there on the side. Okay. So that's going to be part of the bottom line that we hear now. So that's what the Mishnah says this, and the Gemarah says as follows: Tana, we have learnt in a Braita, ubilvad shelo yitna'eh b'shel avotav. Ubilvad, and as long as, provided that, shelo yitna'eh, he does not. What does na'eh mean?
Benefit.
Yeah, same word. Hana'ah is similar root. Na'eh means beautiful. Means beautiful. Okay, you often describe a bride as na'ah, beautiful. Okay, hit na'eh, Avril Links. What kind of verb is that?
Reflexive.
Correct. Reflexive. Okay, that was a reflex reaction when you said that. Yitna'eh. So as long as he does not make himself beautiful, b'shel avotav, with the one of his fathers. What's he talking about here? It's a very strange way, this brisa of saying that he has to write his own one. He can't use his father's one. Presumably his father was the king, right? Because he's the king now, and kings are kingship in Judaism, at least in the house of David, is meant to be hereditary. So presumably his father was the king, and he will have written a Sefer Torah. So he can't say, right, well, I don't need to write a Sefer Torah because I've already got one, right? I've already got my father's one. My father's left me it.
Two.
Right?
Two, Johnny.
Well, his father will have had two as well, won't he? So his father will have left two. So he can't say that he's going to fulfill this mitzvah with the Sefer Torah of his father. It's a very funny expression, I think. As long as he does not adorn himself with that one of his father, it means that he says, look, I don't need it. I'm already beautified with this mitzvah from the one of my fathers. Okay, so that's what the Brisa says. Okay, and he's really what the Brisa is saying. It's defining the fact that he himself has to write this Sefer Torah. And the next piece of Gemarah here clarifies it a bit more. Amar Rava says, Afal pi, even though shehinicho lo avotav le'adam Sefer Torah, even if a person, we're not talking about a king now, we're talking about an individual, says Rava, even if a person's father left him a Sefer Torah, mitzvah lichtov mishalo. Now, I'm not talking about a king now. I'm talking about anybody. It is a mitzvah in the Torah to write yourself a Sefer Torah. Has anybody ever written for themselves a Sefer Torah? I don't think anybody here is a Sofer Stam. So none of us have written a Sefer Torah. Have any of you bought a Sefer Torah? No, I haven't either yet. Has any of you been part of a Sefer Torah.
Yes.
Bought a parasha, maybe bought a line, maybe bought a word, maybe bought a letter in a Sefer Torah.
I wrote a letter to finish the Sefer Torah.
Okay, so Jackie wrote a letter. Hands up if you've written a letter in a Sefer Torah. Yeah, we've all done that, all the men anyway. And you have as well, Julia. Good for you. So we'll come to that another day.
Roger
maybe.
did it on my behalf.
Roger did it on your behalf. Excellent. Yeah. So the reason that we wrote that letter in the Sefer Torah, all us men, is because that is as if we have written it. Now, we can't do it ourselves because we'd mess it up, wouldn't we? Don't know how to do it. It's the same way as a Brit Milah. Whose responsibility is it to do a Brit Milah?
Father.
The father's responsibility. It's not the Moel's responsibility, unless the Moel happens to be the father as well. Right? But most fathers don't know how to do it, so you don't want to make a mess of that. So
we are offered.
I have told you
are
that
offered.
my son-in-law did it for his first child.
Yes,
and
good for him.
It was a shock for all of us, and he was so shocked he forgot to name the child properly.
Okay, so this is why we don't get fathers to do it themselves, right? So Bezrat Hashem, we will have a Brit in our shul on Friday morning, the Rav's baby boy, and he has honored me with doing the Brit, so I'm very excited about that. And I will be offering him to do it, as Michael says, immediately before. I will be holding out the knife and asking if he wants to do it himself. And if not, then he has to make me a shaliach, has to make me his agent. And this is the same with the Sefer Torah. You can fulfill your mitzvah of writing a Sefer Torah by employing somebody to do it for you. So that means paying for somebody to do it for you. And that's why when you, inverted commas, sponsor your parasha, sponsor your letter, sponsor whatever it is that you sponsor as part of your Sefer Torah, that is you considered to have written a whole Sefer Torah. Okay. Obviously, the more that you sponsor, the greater the mitzvah, but you have fulfilled your mitzvah by having somebody write a Sefer Torah or even write a letter on your behalf. Even better if you put your hand on the sofer's hand, you are then his hand writing the letter is, as it were, an extension of your hand, and as if you have written it in your own hand. It's a beautiful thing to do. Any of you who have done it or seen it, it's a very beautiful and emotional thing to do. We did it in our shul not that long ago. I think David Bernstein completed a Megillah, I think, and we had a whole bunch of people came. I can't remember what it was. I've got a video of it now. I think it was a Megillah Esther, and a whole bunch of people came, and and it was really exciting. So now then, I'm going to ask you a question. I want to know why you haven't asked me this question. I said to you a bold statement that it is a mitzvah that everybody has to write a Sefer Torah. Where does it say that in the Torah? Where's that mitzvah come from? Why haven't you asked me, where does it come from?
But it only says a king, though, doesn't it?
Well, our pasuk, quite right, Michael. That's the question. That's why I wanted you to ask me that. Our pasuk says very explicitly, verse 18, and it will be when he sits upon his royal throne that he shall write for himself. Okay? So, that's a king. Where about the rest of us? Rava says on this piece of Gemarah, everybody has to do it. Where's that from? Okay, David Marks will tell us. Where's it from, David?
Parashas Ha'azinu.
No.
Yeah. Kisvu lachem es hashir azos.
I think you'll find that's Parashat Vayelech.
Sorry, you're right. The end, yeah.
Oh, I managed to catch David out on something. Whoa. He mustn't have had his breakfast yet. How do I know that? Because my bar mitzvah Sedra. So that was a bit of a cheat, really. Right, let's have a look at the pasuk. Let's have a look. It's in Devarim, chapter 31, Parashat Vayelech. There it is on the screen, Jeffrey.
And now write for yourselves this song and teach it to the children of Israel. Place it into their mouths in order that this song will be for me as a witness for the children of Israel.
There we go. There we go. Va'ata, and now, kitvu lachem. You shall write. Can you see that? Kitvu is an imperative. You shall write, a command. Lachem, for yourselves. You write for yourselves. Et hashira hazot. This song.
It doesn't say the whole Torah, John. It just says this song.
Ah, okay. I was waiting for somebody to ask me that. It doesn't say the whole Torah, does it? It says this song. Well, what do you think that refers to, Jackie, when it says this song?
The song, Hazina, the one that Moses sang.
But it's not in Hazino. It's not in Hazino. That was we've established it was Vayelech. Vayelech's not a song. Hazinu's the next
also Shir then.
Okay, Michael says the Shira is the Shirat Hayam, and that's not here either. That's in Parshat B'Shalach. Okay, so it's all very, very good question. And in fact, Chazal asked the same question. What does it mean? Kitvu lachem et hashira hazot. It means, and they come to the conclusion that it means the whole Torah. Okay, the whole Torah is a song. Shira doesn't just mean song, by the way. Shira also means poetry. The Hebrew word for poetry is the same as the Hebrew word for song. Shira. So, kitvu lachem et hashira hazot. Write for yourself this song. And then, so let's go back to our Gemarah. Our Gemarah quotes this. Rava says, you can't fulfill your mitzvah by saying that my father left me a Sefer Torah. No, you have to write it for yourself. He quotes our pasuk, Ve'ata, and now kitvu lachem, write for yourselves et hashira, this song. Okay? Eitvei Abaye. Abaye says, no, I'm not having that. He says, V'kotev lo Sefer Torah lishmo, shelo yitna'eh b'shal acherim. Abaye quotes a different writer and says that this is talking about the king's Sefer Torah. Can you see the same words? Right? Shelo yitna'eh b'shal acherim. We had before, Shelo yitna'eh b'shel avotav. He should not be glorified by the scroll of his father. That was talking about the king. And he says, no, this is the king. He's referring to the king. Melech in, a king, yes. Hediot, a commoner, no. Right? He's saying, Abaye says, a commoner does not have to write a Sefer Torah. No, does not have to write a Sefer Torah. There must be a distinction, says Abaye, between the king and a commoner. If Rava is right and that there is a mitzvah of a commoner, a non-king, to write his own Sefer Torah, then what's the difference between a commoner and a king? There must be a difference because there's a special pasuk for the king. So what's the difference?
The king rules over all the commoners, and therefore he's got to know the Torah, whereas the commoner doesn't necessarily have to know all the Torah.
Right. We're talking about writing the Torah. Abaye says that this pasuk saying that he can't rely on his father's Sefer Torah doesn't apply to a commoner. A commoner can rely on his father's Sefer Torah. Only the king can't rely on his Sefer Torah. Must be a difference between the king and the commoner. What's the difference? How many Sifrei Torah does a commoner have to write?
One.
How many does a king have to write?
Two.
That's the difference. And that's the Gemarah that we're going to learn now. Look at this Gemarah. Lo, no, Sricha, we need this distinction, Lishtei Torot, for the two Torah scrolls. v'chidatanya, and we have learnt v'katav lo et mishnei Torah, our pasuk in Parashat Hamelech, kotev lishmo shtei Torot. He has to write 2 Sifrei Torah. That's why our translators wrote 2 copies, except for Steinsaltz, right? The Art Scroll and the Chabad said 2 Torahs. Why? I told you why earlier on, because I've learnt this Gemarah. The Gemarah tells us that he has to write 2 Sifrei Torahs. Look, achat shehi yotza'ah v'nichneset imo, one that he takes out and brings in with him, va'achat, and one shemunachat lo bebeit gnazav, and one that he puts in the treasury and it stays there. Now, in Tanakh terms, what does it mean, yotze v'nichnas, going out and coming in? We've had it many times, and we've had it in Tanakh as well, in our Tanakh share.
It means war.
Take it to war.
It means war. It means war. Do you remember the discussion that we had about the grammar with the with her and with him business, and we ended up saying that it was a printing error? Remember that? Over a bit further up the page here, when we were talking about must have been in the Mishnah, I think. Yes, there it is. Look, remember, Yotzei la milchama motzia ima. He goes out to war and he brings it with her. Remember, we couldn't figure out why it didn't say imo with him. Remember that conversation? So Yotzei nichnas, he comes in, meaning he comes in from war. He brings it in with him. So in the Mishnah, it clearly means going out to war, as Julia said. Now, here, interestingly, we are not saying it's war. Yotze, he has one Sefer Torah, shehi yotza'ah v'nichneset imo. Now, if I'm reading this, I think that means that he
with him.
He takes it with him to war, like Julia. That's what I thought. But it seems that Chazal interpret this not to mean war, but it means at all times. Yeah. When he goes out and he comes in, he has to have this Sefer Torah at all times. Now, if you've got a Sefer Torah, right, and especially if you're a Sephardi, imagine you're a Sephardi, right, and you have to carry around that massive, heavy case all the time, you're not going to get anything done, are you? Right? If you've got to have that with you at all times, so how are you going to do it? Even an Ashkenazi Sefer Torah.
Have the one, Johnny, that your friend in Australia had, a little one.
All right. So, hello, Dolly. You have a little one. Yeah, you have a little one, and that's what the Gemarah is going to tell us now. Have a look. Have a look what the Gemarah is going to tell us.
Can I digress for a second? Does it mean when it says he's got to write 2 Sifrei Torah, does it also mean he can get away with writing one letter at the end of the Sefer Torah? Does it mean he has to physically write the whole Sefer Torah himself?
No, he can pay somebody to do it for him.
Okay.
Because he might not be able to do it and he'll mess it up.
Okay.
Okay, now then, look at this. The Gemarah basically asks my question: how are you going to schlep that Sefer Torah around with you the whole time? The Gemarah says, Ota, that one, sheyotza'ah v'nichneset imo, the one that he takes out and brings in with him, oseh, Ota, he makes it, kamin kameya. Now, this was a really strange thing to me. I couldn't get my head around this. What's a kameya?
It's a kamea, but the girls wear, they call it.
Yes. What is that, Johnny?
It's a necklace.
It's a necklace. And what's the purpose of this necklace?
Well, I've read the word there, but I know what a kamea is. I've read the word. Amulet.
It's like
an
the word
amulet.
Gemarah.
It's an amulet, right? It's something that, what is an amulet in English?
It's a brooch.
Yeah, it's a good luck charm. A kamea
Pendant.
it's not just a pendant, it's what you put on the pendant. It's a good luck charm. Lahavdil elef havdolos, right? A St. Christopher, right? That the Christians wear is an amulet. The chamsa, yeah, that the Sephardim wear, chamsa, yeah, the hand, right? It's an amulet. It's a kamea. And that is why there are many people who do not, my son included, who are very against chamsas, because you're not meant to have kameas and this kind of superstition and all that kind of stuff in Judaism. Yes, Sharon.
Yes, it's also the name of a very fine modern dance company. Is headquartered in Beersheba.
Oh, that's nice. I wonder what the connection is.
You say, is that why a necklace caught with a Magen David's called a Gemarah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
So
it's supposed to be a necklace to bring good things. A dance should enhance the soul.
That's right. And there is a big problem with this, according to halacha, because there's a halacha that says you should not have these kind of good luck charms. It's called Darkei Emori, the way of the Emorites. So it surprised me very much when I saw this word here in the Gemarah. And he says he should make it kamin kameya, like an amulet, v'toleh bizro'o, and he hangs it on his arm. So not like a necklace, but like a
bracelet.
A bracelet. So So I don't know if you've ever seen these. I had one when I was younger. It was all the rage when I was a kid. I had this Sefer Tehillim that was so minuscule, right, that you needed a microscope to read the words. Do you remember that? Did you ever have one of those?
Yeah.
Tiny little thing. You used to keep it in the car, right? It was a kamea for the car. Probably shouldn't have done it. Dan would have gone mad if we'd have known about it. So I guess it's like that, really. It's a mini Sefer Torah, a tiny little Sefer Torah. Now, of course, it has to be written. So it can't be printed and then shrunk into, 0.1 font size. How he did this, I don't know. He must have had strong arms. But basically, he had a very small Sefer Torah, which he hung from his arm like some kind of bracelet.
Isn't it more reasonable to assume that he had a servant who carried it around with him, behind him, rather than him carrying it himself? Because it would be far too big anyway. And as I said, I don't think it's possible that you could get such a small Sefer Torah to put on his arm.
So Michael wants to say that he didn't carry it around with him. He had somebody to carry it around for him. Yeah. Could be. It's not what the Gemarah says here, but that makes
Johnny, read
the reminder.
One at a time. Avril.
I was saying it seems to me the whole point is that he has to have it himself touching him. So it's reminding him of what his obligations are. If it's really small, then he's not going to be expected to read it. It's just knowing that it's there. So if somebody else carries it for him, it's not going to have the same effect, the immediate tactile effect, which will, sort of give, arise in him all the knowledge of what's actually says in the Torah.
That's a nice idea. I like that. Yes, Michael, your idea has been kiboshed by Avril, and I'm buying Avril's thing. Yes, very good, Johnny.
How could he slap round the Torah all the time himself? He's supposed to be going to war. He's supposed to be fighting in war. He can't carry it and fight at the same time.
But they're very small, like Johnny said. I've seen these.
So Gemarah says
we're talking about thousands of years ago. How on earth could they make a Torah so small? It's impossible.
Well, maybe there was a very, very clever Sofer Stam with very good eyesight, Michael. But that's what it seems the Gemarah says. He hung it off his arm. Yes, Johnny.
Read the note at the bottom of the page.
Okay, let's go to the bottom of the page.
And he hangs it on his arm.
Okay, here we go. Some early commentaries explain that the king would not write literally the entire Torah, which would be very difficult to record, in a small enough manner that the whole text could be bound to his arm, but only the 10 Commandments, the letters of which stand for all of the mitzvah of the Torah.
Yeah.
Okay, Rav Nachshon Gaon. Another opinion says that the scroll bound to the king's arm was just a list of the mitzvah of the Torah without all the stories. Others insist that it was a full Torah scroll. Some with this opinion, possibly including the Rambam, explain that the scroll did not literally hang from the king's arm, but that is a figure of speech signifying that there was an individual appointed to carry this Torah scroll and accompany the king everywhere he went. The Meiri, Michael Kraus, you are vindicated. The Meiri says what you say. Well done, Michael. Well done, everybody. That is what this is all about, right? Learning a piece of Gemarah, exercising our minds, and then finding out that we're not the first people to have exercised our minds in this way. Well, that's great. I love that. Okay.
Johnny, do you remember, though, when we were learning this, I came up with the idea that he only had to write the passage about the king not having too many wives, too many horses, and too much money. That was a little bit he had to write and carry with him.
Yeah. Okay, well, that would fit in here as another possible explanation. The Rav Nachshon Gaon says it was the 10 Commandments, but yeah, you could be that those are the ones that if you're going to write some of them, that's what you would want to write if you're the king, to remind the king of his own personal responsibilities. So that's interesting. Okay, really good. All right, let's just finish this little bit and then we will do an intro for next time. So how do we know that he has to have this Sefer Torah with him at all times? Because there is a pasuk, which is in Tehillim, which you might be familiar with. You might be familiar with this pasuk because it's written on lots of places. And the pasuk says, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. You've seen that? Avril's nodding. Where have you seen that, Avril?
In shuls I've seen it.
You have. It's quite a popular pasuk to put over the Aron Kodesh. Now, for example, if I were to just move out of the way and you look at the Aron Kodesh behind me, what will you see? Can you read it? It's not that clear. I'll tell you what it says. It's another thing that is very often said. Da lifnei mi ata omeid. Know before whom you are standing. That's a popular one. But another popular one is, in fact, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. Where else have you seen it? Anybody else seen this pasuk knocking around in places?
There's a song as well, and that's the chorus. It's one of my favorite songs ever. Shiviti Hashem.
That's a song, right? We'll translate it in a minute when we've decided where we've seen it, and then you'll know what the song is. Anybody, David? Where have you seen it?
Beginning of a Siddur.
Yes, could be. I'll tell you where I've seen it, because I've got one myself. Very, very common is on the Stender. Mm-hmm. You know, the Stender that you put your Gemarah on, or your Sefer that you're learning. Very often you'll see, I bet if you were to go onto Google and Google the images for Stenders, I bet you would find them with Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. I've got one. It's not in front of me. It's downstairs with that pasuk on. And the reason that they put that on the Stender, and the reason that they put that pasuk on the Aron Kodesh, have you got one there in front of the Siddur there, David?
Yeah. In the Koren, that's how it starts off first thing in the morning before Modani.
Okay, so let's see what it means, and you'll understand why all of those three places are a sensible place to this pasuk. Let's go to the pasuk itself. It's in Tehillim. It's chapter 16 of Tehillim. It's on the screen for you there, Jeffrey, please. Verse 8.
I have placed the Lord before me constantly. Because he is at my right hand, I will not falter.
Okay, so the first part of the pasuk, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. I have placed Hashem lenegdi. What is neged?
Opposite.
Opposite. I've placed Hashem opposite me, right in front of me, right? That's right opposite me. Tamid, always, right? I have placed Hashem in front of me constantly. Now, that's why you have it over an Aron Kodesh. Makes sense, right? That's why you have it on your stender when you're learning. You're learning because you've got Hashem in front of you all the time. That's you're learning l'shem shamayim, and that's why it's at the beginning of the Siddur, because you're about to daven, you're about to pray to God. You establish right at the beginning that Shivisi Hashem lenegdi tamid. Hashem is in front of me all the time. Okay, now what about your song, Avril? What's the song about?
It's basically about that. It's about the Torah and the fact that we've placed God in front of us. That is those words.
Avril will try and find this song on YouTube, and she'll send us a link. She'll try and send us a link on the Gemarah group so that we can listen to the Shivisi Hashem lenegdi tamid song. Now, what the Gemarah has done is its usual trick of quoting half a pasuk, right? Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. Oh, actually, no, it doesn't. It quotes the whole pasuk as it so happens. Okay, so it quotes the whole pasuk. We usually only quote half the pasuk, right? I bet if you were to say to most people, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid, complete the sentence, most people would not know it. I wouldn't know it without looking at it. I wouldn't know it without looking at it. Ruby would know it, of course, but most normal people wouldn't know it but for our purposes, the end of the pasuk is important because the end of the pasuk says, ki, because miyamini bal emot, he is at my right hand and I will not falter. So based on that, let's go back to the Gemarah. Where do you think he hangs this Sefer Torah?
On his right hand.
On his right hand. Now then, when you are the Chazan and you take out the Sefer Torah from the Aron Kodesh and you are going to say Gadlu Lashem iti unaroma mashmo yachdav, or on Shabbat you're going to say Shema Yisrael, and you're stood there with the Sefer Torah, where do you hold the Sefer Torah?
On your right arm.
On your right arm. And if you are on the left arm, what will somebody like me do?
Pick it up and change it around.
I'll make you change it onto your right hand, onto your right arm. Because of this pasuk. That's where it comes from. Isn't that beautiful? That's where it comes from. You hold the Sefer Torah in your right arm because of this pasuk. Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid ki yimini bal emot. The Gemarah says, right, the king has his own personal Sefer Torah with him at all times in his right hand, or if you want it, the Kamia idea, hanging off his right hand, holding it his right hand, or if you want Michael Krause's idea, it's held by his right hand man. How about that? It's held by his right hand man.
Very good.
Okay, right. We'll just finish off this last little bit of Gemarah. But where does he not take this Sefer Torah to? It's got to be with him at all times, whether he goes in, he goes out, except for
toilet,
the toilet and the bathhouse. Correct. Eino nichnas ba. He doesn't go in with it. Lo lebeit amerchatz, not to the bathhouse. V'lo lebeit akisei, and not to the toilet. Shene'emar, as it says in the pasuk, right, which is our pasuk in Parashat HaMelech. Let's go back. Where are we? Go back to Parashat HaMelech, verse 19, please.
And it shall be with him, and he shall read it all the days of his life. So
Stop. V'kara bo kol yemei chayav. He has to read it all the days of his life. Says the Gemarah, quotes our pasuk, v'kara bo, he has to read it. Makom hara'ui likrot bo. Only in a place that it is fitting, hara'ui, it is fitting to read it. It is not fitting to read a Sefer Torah or any other holy book in a bathhouse where there is nakedness, or in a toilet where there is toilety things, right? It's not the place to do it. So you don't take a Sefer Torah into a toilet or a bathhouse. You don't take your tefillin in. When you need to go to the bathroom in the middle of davening, what do you have to do?
Take them off.
Take them off, right? You have to take off your tefillin. You can't take tefillin into a toilet, and you also take off your talis as well. Somebody?
That's Jeffrey blowing his nose.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So yeah, you can't take a holy book, certainly not talis, tefillin, Torah, into a bathhouse or a toilet, because you can't read it there. It's not fitting. It's not appropriate. That's a good translation. It's not appropriate.
Johnny.
Huh? Keep your sits on. Well, yeah, I guess so. But you would make sure they're tucked in, out of the way, etc. Those people that wear their tzitzi on top of their shirt might well take them off.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've finished that section now on Parashat HaMelech. We've really gone into it in great depths. Today, we've learned about writing a Sefer Torah. What we've learned about is that each individual person has a duty to write a Sefer Torah. You can't rely on the one your father left you. A king has to write 2 Sifrei Torah. According to one opinion, he has to write 2 Sifrei Torah himself. According to another opinion, he can rely on one of them from his own father, but the other one he has to write for himself. The truth is, if we all fulfilled that mitzvah, Sifrei Torah would be in great abundance, wouldn't they? Because you would all have one. Fact is that we don't write a whole Sefer Torah because A, it's very expensive, B, we don't know how to do it ourselves, and C, we fulfill the mitzvah with just writing a partial bit of a Sefer Torah because it's not always possible to do so. However, you understand now why we make such a massive fuss of a new Sefer Torah, right? We have a Hachnasat Sefer Torah, we make a big fuss, we bring it in with music and dancing and a Sudat Mitzvah. Why? Why is it a Sudat Mitzvah? Because it's a mitzvah in the Torah. It's a one-off mitzvah in the Torah. You can only do it once, right? You can only do one Brit Milah, right? You can also only do one, right? You only need to write this Sefer Torah once. If you write your second Sefer Torah, you haven't done 2 mitzvot. You've already fulfilled it. Okay, so it's a great mitzvah, and it's incumbent on us all to do it. Okay, we're going to stop there, and what we're going to do next week is you'll have a look at this on the right-hand side of the page there. Can you see all this stuff over here? We're going to get into a long piece of Gemarah now. It's going to go all the way over the page and into quite a significant amount of the next page about the writing of a Sefer Torah, how the letters look, right? And you can see here different types of letters. These ones on the right-hand side you'll recognize. These ones you might not recognize quite so much. And we're going to talk about all of that next week. And I've prepared for you a handout, which I will send out to the group in preparation for next week's shiur. So have a look at that before next week, and you'll be ahead of the game. Any questions on anything to do with Parashat HaMelech, which we are saying goodbye to today, having gone through it in great detail? Yes, Johnny. You're muted, Johnny.
The kings came before the Gemarah, didn't they, these kings?
Yes.
How will they know all these intricacies of what we've just been learning?
Torah Shabbat al Peh.
Just by mouth.
We only wrote it down in the Gemarah because we were scared that we'd lose it. This was all passed down from Moshe Rabbeinu through Yoshua, first Mishnah of Pirkei Avot. Moshe Kibel Misinai, and he passed it to Yoshua, who passed it to the Nevi'im, who passed it to the Anshe Knesset Gedolah, etc., etc., etc. And eventually, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi wrote it all down, and then eventually the Gemarah was written in around about 500.
Okay, thank you.
Because they weren't making it up; they were just writing in stuff that was already known. Yes, David.
Yeah, just a nice bit as we're concluding this session. I saw just now in Mam Lawyers, where it says the king is sitting on his throne, V'hayak Shivto al Kisei Mamlato, and the word Kisei is a mnemonic representing the three things that the king isn't allowed to have an excess of: Kesef, Sus, and Isha.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It's nice, isn't it?
Really? That's really nice. Kisei, Kesef, money, Sus, horses, and Aleph, Isha, wise. Yeah, I really like that. I'll just finish with a little thing that makes me smile every single Shabbat after the Haftarah, because we in that at the end of the brachot after the Haftarah, there is a pasuk that says Al Kisei Lo Yeshev Zar. Right, we all know the tune that it goes after the Haftarah. Al Kisei, on his throne, Lo Yeshev Zar, a stranger shall not sit. It's referring to David HaMelech, that David HaMelech's throne is only fit for the descendants of David HaMelech. Al Kisei Lo Yeshev Zar. There was a certain rabbi who had his own toilet next to his office, and on the door it was written Al Kisei Lo Yeshev Zar. And on that note,